Oh, I am back from the dead. You know what I mean? Been sick for like 7 weeks, 8 weeks. Thank y'all for praying. And for those of you who didn't pray for me, that's fine. I'm not mad about it. I go away for a little while, and then my brother starts this thing called relationship rehab. I'm like, what? What are you doing? You know, I was like, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm going to try to fix some people. I said, well, good. So what it means is I'm going to have to fix what he messed up. That's what that means. So, but I'm going to try this. I saw this online. I thought, this ought to be good. See if I can handle this. Oh, wow. I tell you what, you know, Brian and I have been doing this thing, listen to this, for 26 years. They told us not to, by the way. Go ahead and clap. They said, brothers will never be able to work together. You will need counseling. And I'm like, well, of course. I thought that was part of the family deal, that you always have to have counseling. So then Brian comes up here. He said, you know, I'll be Brian right now. You'll be Brian right now? I'll be Brian. I want to be Eddie when I grow up. You know, he can't do anything about this because he's not up here. And make sure I keep my microphone together. There we go. But I'll tell you. So I thought, me and Brian and I, we were told early on that this relationship thing with brothers won't work because you can't work together. Because relationships are hard. Y'all notice that? That's kind of hard to do. If you're married or have children, you got it. You understand what I'm saying? It's kind of hard. And if you have actually friends, some people they say they have a lot of friends. I don't have as many friends as I used to. And it's not because they died. So let's make that clear. It's because as I get older, I realize what I really want in a friendship, that kind of thing. But you can mess it up fast. My brother, Pastor Brian, called it words of mass destruction. It takes a lot of work to get to a relationship, but you can mess it up real quick and real fast if you're not careful. So you have to realize that putting them back together, and I think there's a lot of things that my brother has said that has opened up a can of worms for all of you to try to figure out what kind of thing do I want to do when we call this thing relationships, or have a relationship in my life. What do I want to do with that? And so one of the things we'll do today is let's make sure, let's qualify it. Let's make sure we really want it in our life. That would be something that we have to do. And then we have this forgiveness thing we have to deal with. And then we have reconciliation we're going to deal with. And then I'm going to try to bring it all in and tell you kind of what I had to deal with. Does that make any sense? Because I've got an idea as I've gotten older what I've had to deal with. So is there any relationship, just go ahead and throw this out, is there any relationship in your life that needs repair? Because it's kind of like we've opened this up for you, and then you're trying to figure out, do I really want to do this? Do I really want this person or that person in my life? And like I said, we will qualify some of these. We'll have to. Reconciliation is to repair, restore a relationship or the relationship. And here's the thought for you. I need to know if I want this relationship. Because there's a lot of friendships, there's a lot of things out there, but some of this, let me say this. If you've been abused physically, sexually, verbally, all these things, this person, you need to delete that person as fast as you possibly can. I'm just telling you. Now, you can say whatever you want to say, but there's some relationships that you should not be a part of, and you just need to delete those. Now, can you forgive them? Well, you can. And that's part of the process, because forgiveness and reconciliation kind of go together. But there's a lot of people that I have forgiven that I don't want to have nothing to do with. And I know that sounds like, hey, it's terrible. I said, no, I only have so much time and so much energy, and I can't have 100 friends and trying to keep all that straight. I just can't. So sometimes I've learned to forgive. And then the relationships that I really want, we reconcile. But it takes two to make that happen. But forgiveness can take just one. That could be you. We can see that happen. And the Bible even says this. This is the coolest part. If possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. So it is up to you. How do I want this thing to go? What do I want to do? I have a relationship. Maybe I want to be restored. Maybe I want things to go different. So we'll have to see as we walk into this. And I've got some ideas how to help you get through that. Because I have been, just like you, I've been hurt. I've been wronged. I have been human. And all the above. So all that has happened as we get into this. And so you have to figure out if you want to have this relationship that has already popped in. Now, my brother did this 2 weeks ago, and you already thought about, do I want this to happen? You know how much work it is to be married. You know how much work that is. And you know how much work it is to have kids. And yeah, it's just amazing how much relationships have to be worked on. There's no easy way to do it. And I think that's what you have to see. So before we go into, all right, I want to have a relationship or don't, we need to qualify it. You know, if this relationship is hurtful, demeaning, or there's things that's happened, you probably need just to delete it and learn how to forgive. That's a process too that we all have to learn how to deal with, because what you need to know between the forgiveness and reconciliation and all the things that go with that, there's a possibility you can miss something by not having those two things in your life. Whether it be a relationship or it might even be something that God was trying to do, but you've been offended for so long that you can't really see it. It happens. And it happened to Jesus, and it happened to the people in Nazareth. It happened there. So maybe you want this thing to happen. Maybe you want this relationship to start. And so here's the good question for you. How do I do this to avoid getting hurt again? How do I do this to avoid getting hurt again? I'll help you real quick. You can't do it the way you've been doing it. Okay, does that make sense? Does everybody get that? You just can't keep doing the same thing you've been doing on how this relationship's going to go. Because you know how it's going to go. You're going to be okay for a little while, then it's going to go downhill again. And somebody's going to, it isn't really our fault, is it? It's not our fault. It's always the other person's fault. That's just the way it works. So we have to realize, and my brother talked about this, owning our piece of the pie. So why does the relationship keep going south? But, I don't really want it to go south, but it always ends up in the same place. But we got to find a different way to get there if you want it. If you want it to work, got to find a different way to get there, and we'll do that. So we know that forgiveness comes from me. I don't need you to get in that. So if you wrong me or hurt me, so here's what I can do. I can forgive you, but I don't have to reconcile with you if I don't want to. But I can forgive, because I may not need that, your or you or who in my life. I don't know this relationship. I have to decide. But I can forgive you. But if I really want to have a relationship, then we're going to have to reconcile, and it's going to take two. But you can't do it the same way you've been doing it. And I'm going to try to help you with that. I've had to learn some things. So reconciliation is going to require two people to get in the room and sit down. And again, you go back to the same things. We call them repeat offenders. They just keep doing the same things over and over, and you're trying to figure out, how did this happen? I thought we had this squared away. I thought this was the way it was going to be. Then you have emotions in there, and somebody gets mad, somebody says something, and the words of mass destruction come in, and now we start all over. And so I'll tell you something about me in a few minutes, but it's like we're the family. We're family in here, I'll say that. Not everybody's as close as others, but we're a family. But it's really easy to be offended at church or anything that you volunteer to come to. It seems like we put a different thing on that when it comes to church and it comes to those things. You'll go to work and you'll be offended all day long, but you get paid to be offended. But you won't get it. But if you come to church and get offended, it won't take much. When you lose your relationship and you're gone. So you have to realize how we deal with the repeat offenders. There's got to be a way. And who are they anyway? Who are the repeat offenders? Or it could be family members. It could be husband and wife. That's why counseling is so important. We do premarital counseling, but they're so in love, and when you do premarital counseling, they still don't get it. So it takes a little while to get it. And then you have to deal with all that, and then well, I've told you everything, and then you get married, and you're like, well, you didn't tell me that. Well, of course not. It's just the way it is. So we got to figure out, if I want this relationship to work, I got to figure out what I want to do with it. Could be a mom, could be a dad, could be somebody at work, a coworker. I don't know who you want to be friends with or have a relationship with. This is hard. Sometimes family can be the hardest thing ever. It's a strange thing when Brian and I have worked together for 26 years, and he's my best friend. That is the most unusual thing. It is the most unusual thing. It's just the way it worked. So we have to figure out how that's going to happen in our lives, where we want that to end up, what kind of relationship we want, how we're going to solve this thing. Do we want to solve it? Do I need to delete it? So we have to make that happen. So I don't want to get hurt. I don't want that to happen again, but I really want this relationship. And if that is the case, then we got to do something different than what we've been doing before. And we got to realize that. The goal would be no regrets, if it's possible. If there's no regrets. And so I want to have no regrets in my life. I have tried not to have, I've tried to forgive where I can forgive and have reconciliation when I can reconcile. Again, it comes down to how many relationships do I want? How many do I need? I have about 3 to 5 friends, close relationships. And honestly, that at my age, that's about all I want. That's all I have the energy for. That's just, we understand each other, been friends for 20 years. And as you get older, you'll figure that out. You have to do that. So it's the same thing, though, this being offended happened to Jesus over and over again. But you wouldn't think, this is the strangest part, you wouldn't think that it would come from his own people and his own hometown. So we know Jesus was a boy in Nazareth. He was born in Bethlehem, if y'all know the story. So Jesus Christ being the Son of God, but he hadn't started a ministry till he was 30 years old. So he's kind of in the hometown. He grew up with Joseph and Mary, and he's got all these friends and all these people in Nazareth. And he's a carpenter. And then there's these stories that are coming out that Nazareth is hearing about. These stories are coming out that he's doing some incredible things like miracles, like raising the dead kind of thing. And they're hearing this stuff. And so there's a couple of chapters. We're going to flip to one chapter over here. We're going to come back to this chapter. And in your mind, you'll see this happen as we get into this. So Jesus decided to come back to Nazareth. Now, he's already been doing stuff. He's already been doing the miracles. He's been walking on water. All these things you know about and hear about. But they heard about it, but they hadn't seen it. So he decides to come home, and here's what happened. Coming to his hometown, he began to preach to the people in the synagogue, and they were amazed. Let me tell you why they were amazed. Is this Joe's boy? Is this the right guy? So he's saying things that only could come from God. So what is happening to this Jesus? This can't be right. So he's in his hometown. He's talking in the synagogue. He's doing all that. And then they ask the question, where did this man get this wisdom? And this miraculous powers, they ask. Listen, you ever been to a high school reunion? And you walk in and they say, what are you doing now? Because they thought you were horrible. You remember? You're not going to amount to nothing. Well, I'm a doctor. You're kidding me. You got to be kidding. I thought you'd be in jail. I didn't know you was going to be a doctor. Well, see, you grew up with people and you see them now, you're like, they really did this? This is kind of what was happening with Jesus. They grew up with him. He was the boy, he's a carpenter, and they know the family. And now he's doing stuff that only God could do, and this is messing him up. That's what was happening. Jesus had become famous. He'd become this rock star in this world, and they're trying to put 2 and 2 together. So wait a minute, we know this guy. This can't be the right guy. And then you got the guy in the back of the crowd. There's always the guy in the back of the crowd just standing back like this, like, hang on a minute. You had one of them. Just hang on a minute. Now he's doing this and he's doing that and he's saying these things. Hang on a minute, this can't be the right guy. You got the wrong one. And so they started asking questions. They said, isn't this the carpenter's son? Isn't his mother's name Mary? I mean, like, have we got the right kid? Is this guy, have we got the right guy? Because I just can't believe this. I just can't believe that this little boy, Joe's son, who was the carpenter, is now talking like this and doing miracles. I don't get this. So the thought was they're getting mad about it. Isn't that strange? When you found out the guy that you thought was going to be in jail became a doctor, did you get mad? Did it like, well, then you start looking at what did I do? You know, I mean, you start looking at what's going on. So they're asking the same questions. How could this happen? And who is this? They started getting mad. And they aren't his brothers James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas? Aren't all his sisters with us? Where did this man get all these things? And it's kind of like, and why didn't we get some of it? Doesn't it feel like that? And this is what was happening with them. Why didn't we get some of it? So they were really mad about it. It's amazing how familiarity breeds contempt. Once things, it's kind of like a new job. You start a new job. Isn't it great in the beginning? It's so good. First month, I love my job. Second month, I love my job. Third month, it's okay. Fourth month, I hate it. Why? Because you got to know the people. You got to know exactly what was going on and what was behind the scenes. So they were like, it's like, I know this boy. This can't be right. This can't be right. So they were getting mad. So Jesus was talking to a crowd. Now remember, he's in Nazareth. You know, he's come in there, and they've heard all the stories. The rock star is in, but they don't think like that. They're mad because he is a rock star, and why didn't I get some of that? So Jesus is talking to the crowd. His mother and his brothers stood outside wanting to talk to him. Someone said to him, this is what happened. He said, your mother and your brothers are standing outside wanting to speak to you. Now, if my mom was outside wanting to talk to me, I'd go out. I'd quit doing what I'm doing. I'm going to go out and see you. But Jesus said something that really messed them all up. He replied, he said, well, who is my mother? What? Think about what's happening. And who are my brothers? He started pointing his fingers at the disciples, which would be you, by the way. He said, you're my mother, you're my brothers. This is what he started doing. He started doing this and pointing to the disciples, here are my mother, here are my brothers. And it was kind of like, what are you saying? What are you saying? Are you too big for your britches now? Are you a rock star? Why are you doing this? Why are you saying this? He said, for whoever does the will of my Father in heaven, watch this, is my brother and sister and mother. I want to help you with something real quick before I finish this. Everybody's looking for the will of God in their life. I'm going to help you right now. I know the will of God for you in your life, and I'm going to tell you what it is right now. The will of God is that none should perish, that everyone should have everlasting life. And what is the will of God for you? To make sure you tell everybody what I just said. You're the ones that carry this message, but you can't carry it offended. You can't carry it mad. You can't carry it walled up. This is something you have to realize. And when he began to say these things, the Bible says that they took offense to him. They were offended. They took offense. They brought in a fence. And they stuck it up just like this. And they said, I am offended. And then in the Greek, it means scandalisa, which means a scandal. There's a scandal broke out. There's a scandal. They're talking. They're talking about Jesus. You know he's not right. That ain't right. You know what? I don't even know about this dad thing. I surely don't know about this mama thing. And are you sure about them brothers? So the scandal broke out. So here he is, putting Nazareth on the map, the rock star. Oh, and here we are. And there, I'm offended. The guy in the back, I'm really offended. Because you became something that we could not, and I am offended. So this is what was happening. Then Jesus makes this statement. He said, but Jesus said to them, a prophet is not without honor except in his own town and in his own home. What happens when we get offended? What happens to what happened? Now I feel much better this way with me and you now. Because if you hurt me, I got offense anyway. And if you hurt me real bad, I'll just put another one up. This is what was happening. So they got offended. And they just didn't even want to recognize this. Offenses will create fences. Some of you you can call it walls. You can call it fences. You can call it barriers. Some of you have built something so high you can't even see people anymore. Some of you, America lives offended. You cannot say nothing at all and somebody gets mad. Some cause is mad. We live offended and that's what is happening. So here we are in this world and we're all mad at each other. And I'll have to tell you my story real quick. Have I lived offended? Absolutely. I've been offended a lot. I've been hurt a lot. Sometimes I'll be just riding down the road, just yelling at people who are not there. Have you ever done that? It's like, what is that? And so I had to learn some things as I got older. I'm going to have a meeting with some pastors. It's coming up. We're going to be meeting at the 1st of March. And here's what, every pastor has these. Because everybody's been hurt by people, just like you. It's just the way it is. So everybody's been hurt. So everybody's got. But what we do when we get down there, these people I've been meeting with for about 25 years, most of them have large churches. And so we try to leave the fences at home so that we can just walk in and be us and we can say. Now, I can tell you what they're going to say, right? Here's what's going to happen. Somebody's going to be on the other end somewhere, and he's going to say, I don't have any friends. And then we want to say, well, we know why you don't, but you won't let us help you. But you're not going to say that. He said, I don't have any friends. And then somebody will say, I don't like people anymore. I'm like, that's great being a pastor. Isn't that great? That's beautiful. I get it. Because here's what, I'll just let you in on something so that you can understand a little bit. I started this church 26 years ago with my brother. And everything that I have in my soul, in my life, my money, blood, sweat, and tears is in here. And I care that much about you. You see, that's how this feels. And so the guys that I'm with, almost all of them are still at the churches they started, which is rare. 1% in America, I'm a 1%er. They're still there because they keep building this. And some of them are so high. This is some of them, the walls are so high, they don't see you at all. They just come in and they preach, they tell you to love God and love people, and then they leave. That's what happens. Because what happens is, when somebody leaves the church, and they do leave, when somebody leaves the church, I take that personally. They take it personal that you're leaving the church. Now, again, it could be nothing I have done. Somebody said this, words of mass destruction. Remember, this you come because you're a volunteer, and nobody made you come. Nobody made you be here. But then you'll leave, and then I'll have to deal with it. This is what happened early on. And this is what happens to a lot of them. And so when people leave, it takes 2 or 3 days to get over it. I don't know how long it takes you to get over something. But it got shorter. It was a week, then it got down to 3 days. And then I just had to realize, and I'll tell you this in a minute, I just had to realize that it's really, people are people. We were born this way, and we can't make all the best decisions. And so let me say this. So when they leave the church, will they talk about me? Yes. Yes, they will. Will they go to another church and tell the church how bad Marathon is? Absolutely. Absolutely. So you had to figure out, now, I can't go reconcile every situation. So what I had to learn to do is learn how to forgive. Because what happens, I walled up. I wanted to stay away from you scary people. So you wall up. This is what pastors do. And when you build enough walls, what you do is you walk away. You get out of it. Unless you learn to deal with it different. You see, you can't deal with the relationships and those things that there's someone, unless you learn to deal with it differently, you'll wall up. Now, here's the problem with this. It's what I'm missing is the problem with you and with him. Because if you live offended, you're going to miss some things. And you'll see this in just a moment. It actually happened in Nazareth. Where Jesus was there, he actually missed some things. They missed some stuff. They were so offended. And it was amazing that this happened. But here's what didn't happen. And he did not do many miracles there because of their lack of faith. They didn't see it. They only heard about it. You see, this was where I was. In a couple of years, this is why I'm just being vulnerable with you, just telling you like it is from me. A couple of years there, I just stayed away from you. This is normal pastor stuff, though. But then you have to decide that what you started with is what you want to end with. Is this about people or is it about me? This is the hardest part when it becomes you having to deal with the relationships. This is the hardest part. Well, what am I trying to do here? But I have learned how to forgive people without reconciling it because I don't know exactly if I could figure it out. And again, how many relationships do I want? Those are the ones that I want to reconcile. But I have to do one of two things with this. You just can't leave it hanging out there because you're going to miss what God is doing in your life, and you're going to miss it with other people. But you got to do one of two things. You have to decide to forgive. That's something you can do. You can do that. I don't necessarily have to reconcile with everybody. I don't necessarily have to hang around everybody. But I got to do one of the two things. I have to learn to forgive, or either I reconcile because I want the relationship. Because if you live offended and walled up, you're going to miss. There's so many things you're not going to see anymore. You're going to miss the power of God in your life. You're going to miss the power of God doing things in the church and in your life and at work and at home. Wherever you are, you're going to miss all those things because you're mad. You're just living mad all the time. And that's no way to live. So I had to figure this out. And so I did that. I'm going to help you with what helped me. So I had to remove the fences. Now this is very scary. Because now I'm going to go, I'm going to talk to you. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to actually get back to you and in your life, find out what's going on with you and find out about where you're from. And we got a bunch of people from up north now. Did you know that? Hallelujah. Love the Northerners. We do. I'm just saying. So I decided to get back into it. So I opened up a little bit. Started meeting people over here. I'll do that today too. If you want to meet me, new here, I'll be over there. Started talking to people again. I even pulled away from the staff. So then you have this thought. Here's what you want to do. Here's what you have to think. And this is going to happen when I'm at the beach. Everybody down there, most of them are going to try to quit doing what they're doing as a pastor. These are large churches. There's a couple, 2,000 or 3,000 coming to these churches. And they're trying to decide if they're going to stay in it. And nobody would know that. You would think it's the greatest thing in the world. Well, it is. Ministry would be great if it wasn't for the people. Isn't that the craziest saying? So that's kind of how you think, though, isn't it? You know, life would be great if it wasn't for this person. You got a list, okay? Either do one or two things with your list. Either forgive them or reconcile it, but nothing in between. If you have in between, you got walls and you can't enjoy it. So I decided to put up guardrails. Instead of walls, let's just do some guardrails. Let's redo these relationships. Let's rethink it. Okay, so the first guardrail is right size your expectation. But the reason why you got hurt is because they didn't meet your need or your expectation. But here's the deal. They don't even know what it is. The truth is you don't even meet your own expectation. Then you're mad at somebody else. So you need to right size the expectations. Will people let you down? Well, sure they will. We were born crazy. We were born sideways, people. Will people let you down? Yes. Will they mistreat you? Yes. Will they say things they shouldn't say? Yes. Where have you been? Do you do these things? Yes. But I'm asking you if you want a relationship or not. If you want to have a relationship, then you need to right size your expectations. You see, it's amazing about if you have children, and if our children turn out good, that means we're good parents, right? And if they don't turn out so well, that means we're bad parents. Actually, at about 12 years old, we have nothing to do with it. You understand what I'm saying? So you know what we're trying to do? We're trying to keep them in the road. Just get to 18, honey. Get to 18, you know. Pay your own bills. Get to 18. You know what I'm saying? My daughter's going to kill me. I'm going to say this. Is she in here? If you're in here, forgive me. See, I always ask forgiveness, then you do it. My daughter, she would always, this is so funny, she would always hit parked cars. But she was learning to drive, trying to figure out how to get in there. Oh, no, she is in here. But she learned to drive very well, and everything is good now. But it was so funny, so we were laughing about it because I taught her, you don't walk away from hitting a car. You leave a note. You know what I'm saying? People leave a note. Come on now. So she learned to leave a note, but she put on there, call daddy. So I told her one day, I said, I'm just going to make some cards up. It says, just call daddy. And just start leaving in the parking lot. But what the idea was, okay, I need some guardrails with you so that we can function together. So if I don't have a lot of expectation with you, then it reduces my expectation. We can actually get along. And so I realized that everything that happened with people leaving or coming or going and the pastors really wasn't a lot of me or you. It's just people have their things and have their own issues. You need to know that. So what do you need to know about the expectation part? We'll let this one be that one. You need to know from you have a conscience that you need to pay attention to. You need to be aware that you have needs and expectations, but you're not telling anybody, and you want a relationship. You're thinking that your husband should already know this. Let me tell you this. We know nothing. We need help. So if you can help raise us, that would be very good for us. You see, this is the kind of way it works for everybody, isn't it? Like, you should know this. Well, how am I supposed to know what? So tell me what we don't know. That's what I tell. What am I doing wrong? I'm standing here. Help me. That's the kind of way it feels, isn't it? And then you have you have to speak your expectations. What do you want me to do? Pick up the garbage. Take it out once a week. Do something. Just tell me what it is that I'm missing. Because the last thing I do, I don't want to, make you mad. I don't want to hurt the relationship. I just need to know what you're looking for. So then that way we can both all agree on what is happening in this relationship. Now I'm talking about having a relationship. I'm not talking about just a friendship. That's what I'm talking about. And then to be realistic. No one can ever meet all the needs of you. Did you know that? If you looked in the mirror, you ought to write down all your expectations, all your needs, and you're like, I can't do this. I can't even meet them myself. And you want somebody else to do it. It's the craziest thing, isn't it? So I've learned, you know what? We're all messed up. I'm messed up. Do I say things I shouldn't say when I get mad? Absolutely not. Don't you just love that? I do. I get mad. I throw golf clubs. Not as much anymore because they're more expensive now. Just throwing it out there. But with second guardrail, let's do this. Second guardrail is have a slow trigger. People get so mad so quick. And you get mad so quick at this relationship you're trying to have, they never get it right. They never do it right. And I see people get mad, and my wife and I, we do this. So I'm a sports guy, and somebody do something stupid, some sports guy do something stupid, and you want to get mad at him, and then my wife will Google it, and just said, you know why he did that? Because you have no idea where he come from, or where she's come from. So we tend to judge so quickly before we know exactly what is happening. And we judge our relationships like that. Oh, you just mad at me. You know what you did? I texted you, you didn't text me back. Well, I'm taking the kids to school. Can you give me a break? Don't you just want to say, well, give me a break? So we got to be really careful about that. Differentiation. I've been working on this word, differentiation. And that's the last time I'm saying it. But you have to realize, it's the ability not to become reactive to other people's emotions. Somebody's got to be the calm one in the room. Are you the calm one in the room? If you're the calm one in the room, raise your hand. God, we're in big trouble. There is no calm here. Okay. Wow. I'm glad y'all listening. I don't know. Okay, never mind. Okay, we're good. Just come around that way. But you have to realize, so you put these guardrails up so you can function again. You put them up so you can function with people again, but this time you know what you're doing. You can't walk into the same relationship doing the same thing. You got to lower your expectations, understand that you have them, and you got to have a slow trigger if you want to have this happen. This is, 1 Corinthians 13, the love chapter. It says, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered. All of you that didn't raise your hand need to read this verse, okay? It keeps no record of wrong. Wow. That's a hard relationship. Because what will happen, you'll get historical instead of hysterical. When you get mad, you'll start bringing up everything that ever happened. Well, I remember in 1997, you didn't take out the trash. And here we go again. So we have to realize this. So we write expectations. Let's talk about it. Right size your expectations. And some of you need a slow trigger. And I did the same. And this is kind of what brought me back to you guys, where I'm getting back in. I really like people. I had to deal with me to get back to you. And that's just the way it works and those kind of things. If it's possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. It will be up to you. Now, you got to do one or two things in order to take down the barriers. You need to learn how to forgive, and that's going to be a process. That's going to be something you have to do every day with certain people until you're done with that, or reconcile the relationship. You don't want a barrier up. You don't want to live offended, because if you live offended, you won't be able to see what God can do, and you won't be able to see people. You only see you, and you have to realize that. So my brother, Brian, Pastor Brian, he's been letting you know about this prayer, and I thought it'd be cool if we could do it again. And so it's going to be on the screen. It says, Heavenly Father, help me to see who's that. Who's that name that you need to, this is the relationship you're looking for. Help me to see the way you do. Help me to feel toward that person what you feel. So bow your head. Get it in your head, get it in your mind what we're doing. And I'm just going to read it, and you insert the blank. You ready? Heavenly Father, help me see the way you do. Help me feel toward what you feel. Father, we come to you now. We thank you that you love us, and there's no barriers now between us because of Jesus Christ. I pray, Father, that we will begin to work our relationships, make things happen, reconcile them or forgive them so that you can work in our life. Thank you for what you're doing at Marathon. Thank you for the lives that are being changed, and we love you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.